People in the West are tired. I'm not talking about just physically. I mean mentally, emotionally, spiritually, completely drained. We live in this hyper-connected world where everything's loud. Notifications, deadlines, screens, pressure to succeed, pressure to perform. It's this never-ending hamster wheel where you're constantly running but never really arriving anywhere that feels peaceful. And in that kind of world, people are starting to feel this ache. Like, is this it? Is this what life's supposed to feel like? Because if success means anxiety, loneliness, and stress, something's missing, right? So here's the truth nobody talks about enough. People are not just tired of working. They're tired of being disconnected from themselves, from the present moment, from anything that feels sacred. And they're beginning to look beyond the traditional answers. Therapy's great. Self-help books are great. But there's this quiet hunger for something more, something older, something deeper. That's where Hinduism walks in. Not loud, not preachy, not pushy, just present, with thousands of years of wisdom that somehow feels more relevant than ever. And here's the craziest part. People aren't discovering Hinduism through temples or religious conversions. You know how they're discovering it? Through yoga, through meditation, through breath work, through stillness. They're walking into yoga classes stressed out and walking out with a feeling they can't quite describe. It's calm, it's clarity, it's presence. And once they taste that, even for a moment, they're like, wait, what is this? I need more of this. Because for the first time in a long time, they actually feel their own breath. They hear their own thoughts. They touch something that feels like home inside them. And the thing is, Hinduism doesn't demand that you believe in anything to access these tools. You don't have to label yourself. You don't have to attend a certain church or temple. The practices are open, accessible, and experiential. You try it, you feel it, you grow. That's the magic. Hinduism understands that you don't need to be fixed. You need to be still. You need to turn inward. And when you do, you realize the thing you were looking for was inside you the whole time. So now more and more people are finding themselves drawn to this inner world. They're meditating. They're reading the Bhagavad Gita. They're chanting mantras. Not because someone told them to, but because they feel something shift inside when they do. And that shift, that stillness, that awareness, it's addictive, but in the most beautiful way. It's not like social media addiction that leaves you empty. This fills you up. It grounds you. And suddenly, people start living differently. They slow down. They breathe deeper. They respond instead of react. They start living with intention. And let's be honest, this isn't just about personal peace. When you learn to be still, your relationships change. Your work changes, your health changes, everything starts from within, and Western culture is finally waking up to that. It's like someone flipped a switch. People are realizing that more noise, more hustle, more distraction, none of it leads to freedom. But sitting in silence for 5 minutes a day, that's where you find yourself. And finding yourself, that's what people have been missing all along. So yeah, Hinduism is growing, but not because it's recruiting. It's growing because it's working. Because in a world of burnout, it teaches balance. In a world of anxiety, it teaches awareness. In a world obsessed with more, it teaches how to be still with less. And that stillness, it's changing lives, one breath at a time. Let's talk about something that doesn't get enough credit. Choice. In the West, people are waking up to this idea that they don't want to be told how to live, what to believe, or who to follow. They want to choose. They want to explore, ask questions, make mistakes, and still feel like they're allowed to belong. And in a world where religions often come with rules, labels, and conditions, Hinduism is standing out. It doesn't knock on your door. It doesn't say, convert or else. It doesn't scare you into faith. And that's exactly why people trust it. See, Hinduism isn't trying to win a popularity contest. It's not out here advertising itself, trying to rack up followers like some spiritual Instagram account. It doesn't chase. It attracts. And it attracts by simply being open, being accepting, being ancient and wise and willing to let you walk your own path. That's rare because in so many places, belief systems are designed to make you feel like if you don't follow this one right way, you're doomed. But Hinduism? It invites you in. No pressure, no fear, just this quiet voice saying, come sit, come learn, come experience. And people are responding. Because honestly, they're done with being told what to think. They're done with shame. They want something that lets them grow without feeling like they're constantly doing it wrong. And Hinduism does that. It doesn't ask for blind belief. It encourages discovery. It doesn't hand you a list of rules. It gives you ideas, practices, philosophies. It says, here are some tools. Try them. See what resonates. Leave what doesn't. That kind of freedom, that kind of respect, that's transformational. When someone in the West opens the Bhagavad Gita, they don't feel like they're reading a rule book. They feel like they're reading a conversation, one that mirrors their own doubts, struggles, and questions. It's not about worshiping a god out of fear. It's about understanding your dharma, your unique path, your soul's purpose. That's empowering. That's intimate. And it makes people feel seen in a way many traditional systems never have. Even the structure of Hinduism is different. There's no central authority, no single interpretation. You can believe in Krishna, or in Shiva, or in Devi, or in pure consciousness. You can chant in Sanskrit or sit in silence. You can have no guru or many. You can find the divine in a temple or in the wind. It honors the fact that every soul is on its own journey, and that resonates deeply in a culture where people are searching for authenticity, not conformity. This is why you're seeing more Westerners lighting diyas, meditating with mala beads, celebrating Diwali, or learning Sanskrit mantras. Not because someone forced them to, but because it means something to them. It feels real. It gives them peace. And let's be real. When you find something that makes you feel more connected to yourself and the universe, you don't need to be convinced. You stay. You explore deeper. So no, Hinduism isn't converting people. It's connecting them to themselves, to something bigger, to a way of life that doesn't demand perfection, but encourages presence. It gives people permission to be spiritual without being rigid, to question without guilt, to seek without fear. And that's powerful. It's growing because it's not a system that asks for followers. It's a path that leads to freedom. It lets you walk at your own pace, feel your own truth, and create your own connection to the divine. In today's world, that kind of spiritual freedom isn't just attractive, it's necessary. And that's why people are turning toward it, not out of obligation, but out of alignment. You know, it's fascinating. In the Western world, science is treated like the ultimate truth. If you can't measure it, prove it, replicate it in a lab, it's not real. For decades, spirituality was seen as woo-woo, as if believing in something beyond the physical made you irrational. But something wild is happening right now. Science is starting to say the same things that ancient Hindu scriptures have been saying for thousands of years, and people are finally paying attention. Let's start with energy. Quantum physics tells us that everything is made up of energy, vibrating at different frequencies. Now think about what Hinduism has been teaching through chakras, prana, and mantras. Chakras are energy centers. Prana is life force. Mantras are vibrational tools to shift your inner frequency. It's not superstition. It's science meeting spirituality. Westerners are beginning to understand that chanting Om isn't just some exotic sound. It's a vibration that actually changes your nervous system. It calms you, it grounds you, it heals you. And they're not just reading about it, they're experiencing it in their bodies. Then there's the concept of Maya. The idea that this physical reality is not the ultimate truth. Hinduism has always taught that what we see is an illusion, a layer of reality, not the whole picture. Science, it's saying the same thing. Physicists are now exploring the idea that our perception of reality is limited, that time isn't linear, that matter isn't solid, that consciousness may actually create the universe, not the other way around. Let that sink in. Consciousness, not brain activity, not neurons, but awareness itself. Hinduism doesn't separate the spiritual from the scientific, it integrates them. You can worship the divine and still study atoms. You can do a fire ritual and still understand neuroplasticity. You can chant a mantra and know that it's not magic, it's a vibration that's rewiring your brain. And for the Western mind that's always looking for logic and proof, that's huge, because now spirituality doesn't feel like a step backward. It feels like the next step forward. Take yoga, for example. In the West, it started as a fitness trend. Stretching, sweating, cute leggings. But as people went deeper, they realized this isn't just about the body. It's about awareness, about consciousness, about awakening something within. And that awakening, it changes everything. People are learning to breathe in ways that regulate their nervous system, to move in ways that release trauma, to sit in silence and watch their thoughts without judgment. That's not religious dogma. That's neuroscience in action. That's ancient Hindu knowledge finally getting the credit it deserves. And let's not forget karma, the idea that every action creates a ripple. It's not some divine punishment system. It's cause and effect. It's energy in motion. It's personal responsibility. People in the West are waking up to that. They're realizing that what they think, say, and do shapes their life. That they're not victims. That they're co-creators. And when you start living with that kind of awareness, everything shifts. Your relationships, your work, your health, your entire life. So yeah, Hinduism is growing, but not because it's asking people to blindly believe. It's growing because it's offering something the West desperately needs. A spiritual path that doesn't make you choose between your heart and your mind. It says you can believe in God and still understand biology. You can meditate and still respect physics. You can be curious and still be connected. That's why people are showing up. Because they're done choosing sides. They want the full picture. And Hinduism? It's giving it to them. Not just philosophy, not just ritual, but wisdom that bridges the gap between science and soul. And in today's world, that kind of integration isn't just refreshing, it's revolutionary. There's something deeply powerful happening beneath the surface right now. People are craving personal connection in their spiritual journey, not rules, not rigid paths, not systems that make you feel like you're failing if you don't follow every instruction. What they want is freedom, space to breathe, space to grow. And that's exactly where Hinduism offers something unique. It doesn't ask everyone to follow one path. It says, your path is your own. That one truth alone is why so many in the West are turning toward it, not out of obligation, but because it honors the individual. Think about how rare that is. Most belief systems are structured. There's a right way and a wrong way, a leader you follow, a doctrine you don't question. But in Hinduism, you're encouraged to explore. You can go as deep or as light as you want. You can worship in a temple or meditate in your room. You can see the divine in a statue, in a mountain, or in yourself. There isn't one version of truth being sold. There are thousands, and they all belong. That kind of spiritual permission, it's rare. And people are realizing how much they needed it. When someone picks up a Hindu text like the Bhagavad Gita or the Upanishads, they don't feel lectured, they feel invited. The language doesn't demand, it reflects. The gods aren't tyrants, they're symbols of higher truths. You can believe in one, many, or none. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you're seeking, you're evolving, you're walking toward awareness. And that deeply personal invitation, free of guilt, shame, or pressure, is exactly what people in the West have been silently craving. Even when it comes to practices like yoga or puja, there's no demand for perfection. You're not wrong if your posture isn't perfect or if you forget the mantra. It's not about doing it right. It's about showing up, about presence, intention, connection. And that breaks down so much of the resistance people have toward spirituality. It allows them to meet themselves where they are, messy, human, growing, and still be accepted. Western minds especially are used to achievement-based systems. If you don't do it all right, you fail. But Hinduism brings this deeply comforting message. You are not broken, you are not lost, you're simply unfolding. And every step of that journey is sacred. So what's happening is this. People are finally realizing they don't need someone else's permission to feel spiritual. They don't need to fit into someone else's belief system. They need to find what resonates, what grounds them, what opens their heart. Hinduism doesn't force them onto a single track. It hands them a map with infinite paths and says, start wherever you are. And that freedom, that respect for personal truth, that's what's making it grow. Not just in numbers, but in depth. Let's just get honest. People today are feeling more disconnected than ever. Disconnected from nature, from tradition, from meaning. And deep down, they're realizing that something's missing. In a world obsessed with fast results, constant upgrades, and never-ending noise, there's a deep hunger for something timeless, something ancient, something sacred. That's why more and more people in the West are turning toward Hinduism, because it offers not just a belief system, but a way of living that's rooted in balance with the natural world. See, in Hinduism, nature is not something to be conquered or controlled. It's something to be revered. Trees aren't just wood. Rivers aren't just water. The sun isn't just a fireball in the sky. It's Surya, a life-giving force. Every element, earth, water, fire, air, and space, is sacred. And when you grow up in a culture where everything is disposable, where even your own mental health can feel like a productivity problem, that kind of reverence hits deep. It reminds people of something they forgot, that we are part of nature, not separate from it. In Hindu traditions, you don't just say, thank you. You express gratitude through rituals, through offerings, through mindfulness. Lighting a lamp isn't just symbolic. It's an act of aligning with light, within and without. Saying a mantra isn't just spiritual. It's a vibration that connects you to the universe. People in the West are realizing that they need this, not as a performance, but as a practice, a way to slow down, reconnect, and live with intention. And there's more. Festivals like Diwali or Holi aren't just colorful holidays. They carry deep spiritual meanings. Diwali is about inner light triumphing over darkness. Holi is about letting go of ego, celebrating renewal. These aren't just rituals, they're reminders. They bring people back to what really matters: community, joy, connection, light. And as people in the West participate in these, even in small ways, they feel something shift inside. A sense of grounding, a sense of belonging to something bigger than themselves. And it's not just the rituals, it's the rhythm. Hinduism is built on the idea that life is a cycle. Seasons change. We change. And it's okay. There's no pressure to be eternally productive, eternally happy. There's space for reflection, retreat, and rebirth. That's the kind of wisdom people are longing for in a culture that burns them out. They don't just want to believe. They want to feel connected to the earth, to each other, to the divine. Hinduism gives them that. A spirituality that honors the past, lives in the present, and respects the future. A way of life that doesn't separate the sacred from the simple. It weaves them together. And that kind of deep-rooted spirituality, it's not just inspiring people, it's healing them. Quietly, steadily, one mindful breath at a time. So why is Hinduism the fastest growing religion in the West? Because in a world that feels chaotic, divided, and disconnection, not through fear, but through freedom. Not by preaching, but by guiding. And that's exactly what this generation is ready for.